Hey Renato, how you doing? You okay?
Yes, sir. How about you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for asking. I think one of the sort of like interesting things to find out about because obviously I've done a bit of digging into your background and I know obviously your father is a long time jiu-jitsu practitioner, but from my understanding, you didn't actually start with training with him in jiu-jitsu at first, did you?
I started in judo at first, and I only used to go to his gym where he used to train at, and kind of play around. There was not no kids program until he started one in my city, and that's when I first started jujitsu. So for my first few years in martial arts, I tried karate a few times. Didn't feel like there was enough action in there, not enough fighting, only punching air. So then I wanted to get something more hands-on. Ended up finding judo. Judo, I really enjoyed it. So I trained for about a year and a half in judo, and then my dad started teaching jujitsu in a social project. And then he was the first guy to bring jujitsu for kids in my city. And then after that, yeah, just never stopped.
Oh, awesome. And were you always training under him when you were a kid as well?
Yes, yes. All the way up until I left 19 years old, then I moved here to the USA. Yeah.
And that's when you started training with Robert Drysdale, isn't it?
Then I started training with Robert Drysdale for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. I was at Drysdale. Then I moved back to Team Checkmat, which was our original team before they had a split, back when I was in Brazil.
Cool, cool. And then one of the sort of like cool things about you, I think, is that you were one of those people that got quite a lot of attention when you went through the color belt ranks because you've got an exciting style, and something that you've carried on now until today as well. But did you find that transition into like the highest level of competition difficult at first, or was it pretty straightforward for you?
Honestly, I think the color belts was definitely the hardest thing for me to go through because it wasn't until I was a brown belt that I won legitimate, like, major title. Until then, it was just kind of trying to figure out, am I really going to be able to break out? Am I really going to be able to, make my dreams come true? All these things that I've been working for. So it was quite frustrating to be a blue belt, purple belt, and kind of play second, third, and or not place at all sometimes. And then I end up getting the brown belt. And at brown belt is where I had my best year when I was actually a little bit discouraged when I got my brown belt. I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I was like, well, I didn't win as a blue or as a purple, as a brown. Things get even harder. I don't think it's a great decision, but whatever. I just trust my coaches, which was then Rodrigo Cavaca and my father, Chushiko. And then I was just trying to figure out like, um, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to change something. I need to push a little bit harder. And that's when I ended up making my move over here. I was like, okay, I need to figure some things out on my own and do more training and just kind of be focused on that. So it was good to get away from family, get away from what I was already used to, find different training partners, different training methods. I was able to kind of implement things that I wanted to do for myself, I run practices and things like that when I got here. So that was when things worked out. But then from brown to black, definitely was hard looking at some of the real big names that that I grew up watching. I thought guys were like right away I ended up fighting guys that were like coaches that I've had previously, people that I already had trained with. So now we're on different teams. We end up competing. They ended up fighting guys that I watched growing up. So that was kind of hard to get away from my head, to be like, okay, after the match was done, I would like frustrate, like have like a little bit of a crying, frustrating, like, dude, I can't believe I just needed to believe in myself a little bit more, and I could have made it. So that only lasted within like that first year or so. And then towards the end of the year, started, I feel like I put that respect aspect aside and I started trying to take over the scene. And that was like a really, really good time for me.
So, if you don't mind me asking, is there anyone in particular you can remember from that time period that you really sort of like stepped on the mats and couldn't believe you were facing them kind of thing?
Yeah, so the first guy that I can think of that is like that was definitely Lucas Lepre in the World's Finals. If I want to say like big name, but like right at my first major was fighting Pan Ams in the gi, and I ended up fighting Marcio Andre in the semis, and that was the guy that was like, oh my god, I had such a close match with him. I was like, I should have just trusted myself a little bit more. End up fighting him again in Ogi lately and got that one back, but yeah, it was quite hard for me to go against these guys and not let get to me, how technical I know they are, and how smart they fight. I knew all of that coming up because I grew up watching and studying all these guys. But yeah, Lucas Lepre is definitely one of the biggest ones. I was like, dude, I can't even believe that this is actually happening. I'm in the finals of the worlds and I'm fighting this legend. And in a way, it's kind of bittersweet because then you expect so much, and then sometimes you compete with the guy and they respect you also a lot. On my case, because I feel like I was very aggressive style. So he respected me a lot more than I expected. I thought that he would try and just kill me. So I ended up just bringing way too much energy at the beginning, and I was already like tired throughout the tournament. So I feel like I ended up overdoing it and exposing myself a little more than I would if I was more mature, on that tournament itself. But it was great experience and a pleasure to share the match with such a legend here.
And it's funny you mentioned, obviously, over the course of your career, you've won both gi and no gi worlds. But I know that since about 2021, 2022, I think it was, you haven't actually done gi at all since then, have you?
Yeah, so 2021 was Worlds in the gi, and then I won that in the very end of the year. That's when the schedule was still a little bit off because of COVID. We didn't have 2020. 2021 was in December, but I was kind of getting a little bit over jiu-jitsu. I'm not going to lie. I was getting a little bit frustrated with the scene in general. I had fought no gi towards the end of that year, and in the third coast, I ended up winning a higher weight division. I fought all the way up to 185 day before weigh-in, so these guys were like definitely like 200s or whatever. And I managed to win, and I was super excited. I was supposed to get paid $10,000 bonus, and they ended up paying me like less than half of the money. And there was a whole thing with that, and yeah, it was just kind of frustrating. And I was already a little bit frustrated with other things and just trying to make a living. At that point, I was already teaching for a few years as well, and running my own school and trying to compete at the highest level. It was a lot on my plate. Um, and I also got introduced to MMA once again. I was always something that was on and off. Go train a little bit, stop. Go train a little bit and stop. But that year kind of felt like okay. I feel like I will have more fun doing days at this point, and maybe trying to make my jiu-jitsu work on this scene. I can probably break out and reach a much bigger audience and actually make a difference. On the jiu-jitsu world eventually once I can give it back. I felt like MMA would bring me that bigger reach. And then I started focusing more on MMA, and that's why on that Worlds was my last one. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give one more try at Worlds. As frustrating as it is sometimes getting there and just getting stalled out or losing by an advantage or things like that. Like those things were frustrating me as well in the gi side. So that was my last go at it. I fought very strategically. Still tried to keep exciting, but tried to fight more strategically there. I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna make mistakes this time. I'm gonna let them make the mistakes, and I was able to beat some big names that I was still had to get back. One closed out with my training partner of mine, and after that, I was like, you know what, that's I think that's it for me for a minute. I'm going to focus on MMA. And then I signed one championship, and that was the whole reason why I was far from the scene. Things didn't go as well as I expected in there, and ended up just kind of getting left out of the party for a little bit.
Yeah, that's something that I know a few people have mentioned, both spoken out about like contract issues and that sort of thing. Were you
Mhm.
not getting booked for matches sort of as quickly as you wanted, were you?
Yeah, I had a contract for about 6 matches, and I basically just did the first one, and then after that it was just really hard to get another match. And also I had talked about doing MMA, and at first I had it was just like conversation and everything sounded good. It's definitely gonna happen. Yes, yes, yes. We're excited. To the point that like I renegotiated everything for jiu-jitsu and it sounded great. Everything sounded good. So I didn't really mention the MMA again on the second time that we talked. And I just expected like this guy's really look invested in my career, so it's gonna be fine. And then after I lost my first match in the grappling one, which was supposed to fight a much easier guy than I ended up fighting last minute. They changed and I ended up fighting Tommy, which is Tommy's definitely the hardest guy I've faced. Like every time I face him, he's just so freaking strong, and flexible and technical. He's definitely like a very hard competitor to face. Um, and then yeah, I ended up not having the best match with him. Was an exciting match overall. And then after that, it was just hard to get a hold of another match. And I wanted to fight MMA also. So then it was just like that, like, oh, but we didn't really give a contract. So it was like a back and forth for a long time. and I kind of opted towards the very end. I kind of opted out of just like, okay, then I'll just wait until this run out, so I don't keep re-extending the contract at this point. I already lost so much time that I didn't want to lose. But it was good, it was good. In a way, I wanted to prepare better for MMA anyway, and show up to the scene of MMA, hopefully better ready than people will expect. So if there's anyone there really looking deep into what I'm doing right now and want to fight MMA with me, I'm not that great yet. Please fight me. You can definitely punch me in the faces too. But yeah, I'm trying to get an MMA fight. Hopefully, we'll be doing that very soon. This year, I have some exciting news coming out soon.
Oh, awesome. And are you planning on doing, because I know it's kind of, there's sort of like two different approaches when you're someone in your
Yeah,
position who is really elite at one
yeah,
aspect of
yeah, yeah.
MMA. I
Mhm.
know some people sort of go straight in, like Cade Ruoto, was a good example. He's just gone straight in professional fights, the sort of like higher level. And then other
Yeah,
people like Damian Anderson, Cody Steele, they sort of like take it slow and do some amateur fights and then a
amateur
professional
fights.
one.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to have a much harder time trying to find an amateur fight than a professional fight. And for the time that I already spent trying to fight, uh, I kind of just don't want to do the amateur at this point, just because I can't really spend much more time. Uh, and in a way, for me, it's if the guy's good enough and he's already doing professional, has experience in amateur, and he's able to beat me and make me feel like, oh my god, like not just lose, but like I feel like I have no options, like I'm terrible at this, then I'll just, take a step back and be like, you know what? Maybe that's not for me. I'll just stay in jujitsu. And I'm happy with that. Things are working out better than ever for me in jujitsu right now. The UFC Fight Pass is a whole different world of treatment that I'm getting right now. So it's super exciting. It's almost like hard for me to be like, I still want to fight MMA, but at this point I just committed for so long, into training and preparing and I just really want to do it and try it. Once I get a feel for it and I see if I really like it, that the feeling of being there as well. Um, we will see how we go from there. But I think I'll enjoy it. This far. I enjoy. I enjoy sparring. I enjoy the training. I enjoy like learning. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I suppose for you as well, you're sort of approaching it from like day one almost. Whereas
Yeah,
in jiu-jitsu, obviously you're so far ahead of the curve that it's more
yeah,
like repetition rather than learning stuff
yeah,
new, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah. In jujitsu, it just becomes more and more like, okay, adjusting little details or watching and staying keeping up to date to what's going on right now. What is people doing? Where can I, kind of steal ideas and work with it? Which is always the cool thing of jujitsu is that in jujitsu we were able to train forever, and you're still going to be learning and being excited about new things. It really never ends. I've been doing for 20 years now, so it's like I'm still learning. I'm still getting better. So it's a real hard sport, to a real hard game to play. It's really like a tough chess, and it's always like moving pieces and things changing, trends coming in and out. With MMA, it's kind of the same thing, but it's like there's so much more of a hole and a gap that I have to fit. There's like it just makes it a lot more exciting. It really sucks being a white belt at anything. Again, after you finally get to a level of like, okay, I'm pretty good at this, I'm one of the best, and then to go back to be one of the or something, it's like, oh my god, this is frustrating. But that approach of training and hard work and focus and willing to learn, and being able to be coachable, I feel like I have those things, so that does help me a lot to get better much faster than some people that I see, like even maybe training for years and years, but they just stuck to their own ways. And they come from boxing or they come from kickboxing, and they're like, oh, jujitsu. I don't spend time doing jujitsu. Why would I do jujitsu? It's like, so that's where I get advantage. Like as long as I can bring them to my ground at some point. In my game, I know I'll be more than fine because I'm still training as a competitor for Nogi. I'm not slowing down on that at all. And I feel like keeping this attachment with no-gi grappling is gonna help me the most because I'm going to be showing the highest of highest level of grappling in MMA, and not like I retire from jiu-jitsu and I'm going to be training for MMA and I'm focused so much on striking and wrestling and the things I gotta get better that my jiu-jitsu may actually like go lower than those things, or like just kind of make everything level. I don't want that to happen. I want to always to be reminded as a jiu-jitsu guy, like, hey, remember, you're doing this punching thing here, and it's all fun and games until I can take you down, and then it's my game. And hopefully things will work how I want, and I'm able to prove that jiu-jitsu is still, the best best background you can have on a fight, which I do believe so. We're the closest to the finish, and we don't really need like that lucky shot. We do need to take them down at some point, or we need to bring them to the ground somehow. But it's still like I feel like jiu-jitsu is so technical. Uh, if I have a lock and I have a tight submission, I have the submission, and it's gonna be hard to take it away. So I feel like it will be fun to show that.
And who are you working on your striking with at the moment then?
I was training for the first 2 years with Dewey Cooper, and then he got more and more busy with some of Francis Ngannou fights, and he was like staying in Saudi Arabia for a few months. So after that, I started training with more of people that I've been teaching to, and I ended up going to Extreme for a little bit, and I was training there for a little while. Right now, I'm training over at more in the UFC PI and over at my gym with Matheus Nakashi. He has few UFC fighters. He's a Nova União, Andre Pederneiras guy, and I really like his style. I feel like he really matches to what I want to, to do within my fighting. More in and out, less like grindy and exposing. I'm working a lot of defense and level changes and moving, things like that. So I can fight and stay safe in a way where like I'm not getting too excited with the striking and exposing myself too much. So yeah, that's what I've been doing right now.
That makes sense because I think for your style of jiu-jitsu as well, that kind of like in and out fast movement is something that you do in
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, trying to keep dynamic and like I said, like, once I can really figure out this thing, I'm getting slowly but surely, I'm getting better at it. Training your eyes is such a hard thing, like for MMA, and I need to like be able to see it and get used. I feel like I'm getting finally used to it, where it's like less scary. I can block better. I can move my head more often. I have to be like you know, thinking about it. It's like when you're a white belt, you're like, okay, the Toriando, I need the grips. Where is it? Where is it? And you're looking for that thing. And it feels like you never find it, right? Like that day, they're just not gonna give you the legs. So it's kind of how it feels for striking. It's like I always have one thing in my mind and I forget all these other things. Like right now, I'm being able to do everything without stressing as much and relaxing a little more. So it's big getting more and more fun. So once I can implement that jiu-jitsu style that I have and be able to match with MMA, I think it's gonna be very, very fun. Where I can move side to side, maybe switch stance, maybe you know what I'm saying? Like mix it up, punching, kicking, kneeing, shots, fakes, all those things. I want to be able to be very, very hard to read and be able to play with different tools.
Nice, nice. And you mentioned obviously the UFC Fight Pass Invitational career that you've had so far, and it really couldn't have gone better at the moment. I mean, I think you're 3-0, aren't you, on the promotion?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So far.
And then obviously the last match I think was probably your hardest one. Obviously,
Yeah.
Jason Nolf was a real
Yeah.
tough match.
He was.
Could you? How did you find that sort of facing a real elite wrestler for the first time?
No, I mean, it was a lot of fun at first. I think I did get blindly, like I made the mistake of trying to judge him for the appearance of how he looked or felt towards the end of the 8 minute period. And I felt like he was very tired. And I finally got him to get tired. It doesn't mean that I wasn't getting tired, but he was definitely more tired than me, especially after trying to pick me up and walk around the triangle. I ended up finding a TP triangle. And then I feel like that took some oxygen away too. And maybe like that's the stress of like, oh, that was close or whatever. After that, I felt him like a little bit more like hands on the knees, kind of resting. I started pressing the pace, tried to get a finish with the donkey guard jump towards the end. Couldn't really adjust the toe hold. I feel like I was also running out of time and trying to rush it. He has very flexible ankles. He moves his feet very well too. He stayed active, so it was hard to catch him. Um, with that said, it was very cool to see how he planned out to do not get stuck with jiu-jitsu. Was very cool. He actually gave me a lot of things. I was like, okay, the things I was studying and training for, he actually didn't do it. Which was like some of his single legs and things that he does in wrestling, which my coach Chase pat me for wrestling. I've been working extensively with him for MMA and for jiu-jitsu for a long time. He comes train with us all the time in jiu-jitsu as well. They fought and they were 1-1. So he was able to give me a lot of looks for what he was going to try and do. So the first 8 minutes, I feel like I was very disciplined. I did all the things we planned. I kept one arm always blocking, and staying in good stance, reaching with a backhand, dropping to two hands, and he snapped me down. And I feel like his doors were more shut. He did shoot on me once he got penalized, and I was reaching too much already towards his head to try to get him tired. Um, but like I said, I started taking away from the game plan and going more for that grindy, like, I'm going to just get on his face and make him tired. But he's an elite level wrestler, like I'm an elite level grappler. Like people don't get tired like that, like, and then after the 1 minute, he just hit that second wind. And I just I was not following the plan anymore. I was reaching too much. My hands were high. He was level changing and running through me over and over again. Again, I had a 4 point lead, so I wasn't too stressed. That's why I was throwing so much more on the wrestling. And I was like, whatever, I just want to get a finish. I need to make him engage. He's doing a good job at just outside ties, outside posts, and moving, getting out of my way. It's being hard to hold him. And I didn't want to pull guard and slide and make him, look bad that way. I said I was going to do it, and then some things is just against my own judgment of what a fight in jiu-jitsu should look like. So I can't, like, the more I say like, okay, this was the best game plan. I sit down, I attack, I go for his legs, and I make him think that that's what I'm going for. And and then after that, I'll stand up. And when he's thinking of that, I'll try to use my wrestling. I did not do none of that. I just wrestled him from the very beginning to the very end, and he's better wrestler than me. So that wasn't any surprise, but I did get more tired than I expected. And I got a little bit frustrated that I couldn't find, a way to fully finish. And then that rule for the penalty was also a new rule that I found out the day of. They came in the back. They're like, "Hey, just so you guys know, we were talking. In case this is a very tight submission, you guys go out of bounds." We were going to end up giving from 2 points to 4 points, depending on how severe was the submission penalty, and then we go back in the middle. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But in my head, I'm thinking toe hold, heel hook, we roll, we run out of bounds. Like that's common. That's like how are they judging IBJJF? But no, they just took that to an extreme, I feel like. And then I was the one guy to come and show, like, okay, we can't really do that because people are just going, I can be like, if I can eat an armbar, my arm is strong enough, I'll pick someone up and I'll walk out of bounds too. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of sucked. I should have gotten the finish. And because I was so locked in on, like, I need to get a finish, I need to get a finish, I ended up fighting less smart than I should have. Yeah. But it was still fun. It was fun.
Well, like you said, you did sort of try and go toe to toe with him, which I think not a lot of people would have done, knowing the
Yeah.
elite wrestling background he's got.
Yeah.
Um, and then your next match now is obviously against Oliver Taza, literally in about a
Mhm.
week's time. I know you fought Oliver once before at black belt, haven't you? It was back at ADCC 2019, I think,
Mhm. Yeah,
and
we
you
fought
got
in
the win back
2019,
then.
first match. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And is there anything that you've sort of like taken from that match? I know obviously you won, so it's kind of it's not like you needed to do anything differently, but was
Yeah,
there
yeah.
anything you've taken from that, like facing Oliver before, that you think you can sort of take advantage of now coming into this match?
Yeah. It was cool to go against him previously because he felt very awkward, and even watching his matches, he moves very awkwardly. Like, not wrong, but he mixes it up a lot on the stance and the way that he's like, like he's faking, step down, and arm dragging. He mixes it up a lot. He looks even like on a funny kind of style for the traditional wrestler, which I'm the same way. I'm very different. I don't follow the traditional wrestling style. I switch stance a lot. With that said, or even on the leg locks and stuff, like, he's very good at, like, sucking wind and bringing you to that game. Dan, I just did a very good job of just respecting that and staying on top and floating and blocking and keeping my foot pointing at the right direction. I hope I can do that this match again, because I know his best chance is going to be trying to attack leg locks and things like that. Now I'm definitely a lot better on the leg lock games, and I have counters and things that I also like doing. So I hope I can show that as well. With that said, I think I'm able to do even better this time. I definitely got a lot better, and he definitely got a lot better. We both got a lot stronger as well. I feel like looking at our frames on that ADCC, which we have to make weight day before, day on, like, we probably didn't do the best weight cut as well. And I didn't have a whole lot of size either. Not that I'm like super big right now, but I am gaining more muscle. I am working more. So I feel like these things are going to help me better on this match. Um, yeah, from the previous match, I just think that what I found, and what, even by studying him and watching his last matches, is he can go against very high level guys and guys that have very good, like, submission attacks and control, and he slides out of everything. He's such a good defensive jiu-jitsu guy, like, more than I'm looking at him as like, oh, super aggressive, watch for this, watch for that. Mostly it's like, dude, how do I stop him? How do I finish him within the time frame? You know, he's very good at defending the back and sliding out of like side control. And you know, even if you get a good position on him, you think you're tight and you think you're gonna result in a submission, he finds a way out. So I have some plans. I have some plans for him. I have some things that I'm like eliminating out of my head. I'm not gonna invest so much energy on it because I know he's really good at, on those areas. Trying to explore some not weaknesses, but some different ideas. I want to throw some different ideas at him. That's the goal.
Nice, nice. And obviously that, like we said, that meeting was back at ADCC, and obviously you did it again in 2022. But I think you were sort of one of the people that were quite early on deciding to move to CJI instead of ADCC last year.
Yeah,
Could I ask, what was it that sort of like prompted that decision and to move to CJI in the end?
I think many things. One of them being I always wanted to find that kind of rule set event, and I thought that that was going to be the most fun. And in a way, I was quite right, because when I watched the Karate Combat back in the day, when they first came into the scene, like, you know, just watching the karate event without jujitsu, I was like, dude, that's so cool. I was like, I like how this thing looks. I was like, I think that would solve a problem too. You know, I was like, imagine how much cool stuff you could do off the wall. I'm just like, you know, in my head, I was like, that's kind of cool. And then my dad always did a jujitsu event, so I always wanted to do jujitsu events, and I love super fights. That's what I like the most about jiu-jitsu. You know, that's why like the gi for me eventually kind of got old. The whole system's like it's very political, you know. You know, it's like it's almost like I have to play the game, I have to play by the rule, I have to be watchful for this, for that. And then you go to submission only or like a super fight event, you have to be exciting. Okay, that's me. You know, that's what I always wanted to do anyway. So it works out. So I always try to think of like, okay, what would be the best way to do not leave the athlete an opportunity to strategize within the rule set? You know, which again, you give me any rule set, I'm going to strategize for it as well. You know, I'm going to play on my for my own good, you know, and make it hard for you where you have to fight me back, you know, or else I'm going to make you look bad. And not always like means that you're gonna be stalling. It just means that you're not gonna get your turn. You know, it's my turn, my turn, my turn, my turn, as much as I can. So I feel like that criteria of like referee, three refs, and MMA judging is the best. I do not like the open scoring in a way because then people are like more inclined on like, oh, I won this one, so okay, I gotta win one more, and then I just gotta, you know, I almost guarantee, and then the last one they will play more safe. It's cool and all, you know, because it makes the other guy also know that he's losing. But I think we're better off with more like a mix of what Fight Pass kind of does, which is like aggressive penalties. Hey, let's go. Come on, move. You know, let's fight. Like we're here to watch jiu-jitsu. We're not here to, you know, to like watch you guys take your time and think about what would be the best idea of winning. You know, it's like jiu-jitsu is a selfish sport. It's like you're doing for yourself. You're trying to find a way to win no matter what. But if it's not entertaining, if we're not moving, you're not doing anything, you're just respecting each other, trying to do one thing in a whole 10 minutes. Nobody want to watch that. Um, so I feel like they had the best idea, you know, one of the best ideas. It's like, okay, the pit sounds cool. The three rounds sounds cool. And $1 million sounded awesome, way better than $10,000, you know, plus $10,000 if you just compete. I was like, okay, that's what I've been fighting for. That's why I don't compete as much uh events for free as most guys did. You know, like a lot of the guys they competed a lot of opens and a lot of things. I only did when I felt like I needed to give myself a little bit of a try. Like, okay, let me try middleweight. I'll compete this open. Well, I'm gonna do open class. I'm gonna compete at this open first and see how it feels. But other than that, I competed like two opens as a black belt. You know, I competed my whole life for free. And once I got here, I realized like, okay, I got married, I have all these bills to pay. I have to make money. And then once I started making money, I was like, okay, why am I going to keep competing for free? Like, I want to keep pushing on like, okay, look, I'm going to do my part, but you have to pay me to do my job. Also, why I don't compete as much as most people do is I also have my price. And like, if you don't think I'm worth that much, then it's okay, you know. But like, I know where I got to, and it's kind of hard for me to go lower than that, you know, especially now. And then it paid out, you know, it paid off. Like now with the UFC Fight Pass and all that, I have probably the best deal I could ever have signed in Jiu-Jitsu this far. So it's been good. It's finally reaching the spot that I always, you know, thought I thought that my students would be the ones to actually be able to make somewhat, you know, decent money in Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm being able to like to see that already in my generation. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, and I think it's only been the last what like 2, 3 years maybe the events have been able to actually offer good prize money, like you said, like maybe like 10, 20,000 per division. Previously, that was
Yeah.
just ADCC, you know? And
Yeah, 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 yeah.
now there's quite a few events doing it. And obviously, you've got
Yeah.
CJI as well, which is crazy, you know?
Yeah. I can't say the ADCC, wasn't doing enough. They did a lot, and they did a lot for exposing jiu-jitsu, and they did a lot on great organization. I think Mo is a great organizer for events. He has a great vision. He did a good job for the sport for sure. But everybody has somewhat a ego as well, that's just normal, and I feel like that was a ego fight between both of them, both of them. Was one guy like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you down me, okay, here it is, look, I'm gonna do it." Like, I wasn't trying to take a side on that fight that they were having personally. It was more a side of like, I did not get invited for ADCC until 2, 3 guys drop out, and then part of me was like, okay, I didn't do the trials either, but part of me was like, "Ah, man, you kind of disrespecting me a little bit." Honestly. And then, when Craig messaged me, I was like, "Yeah, that's what I wanna do." So I didn't really answer, to Mo's invite when he messaged me because I imagined that that's what was happening. I thought, "Okay, there's a lot of people pulling out now," but I was like, I wasn't focused on doing ADCC to that point because it was just, it already took too long for me to hear, and I was just like, "Okay, I'm counting it out. It's whatever. I'm not stressing about it." Um, so I was waiting for the to see about CJI, see if they would hit me up. So then when they did, I was like, okay, no brainer. That's the event I want to be a part of. I like the idea. I like what you're fighting for. I like, yeah, they have a lot of cool things about it that they were implementing in their nonprofits and all that. And I wish that I made that much money because then I would have started my own nonprofit stuff as well. But again, we'll see that eventually. Eventually, we'll see that kind of money soon.
And then looking sort of towards the future now, is there any other matches or any other events that you want to get on in the rest of the year?
Yeah, so my goal for this year is to do at least 3 matches within the UFC Fight Pass. That's what my contract's looking like right now, at least 3. Um, and if I stay healthy, of course, I want to also do 3 to 4 MMA fights within the next 12 months. So not just this year, but within the next 12 months. That's kind of my goal. So if I can fit grappling, MMA, grappling, MMA, grappling, MMA, that's kind of the route that I'm trying to go right now, and then look back and see how the year went, and then make my decisions for the next year. So again, being a part of the UFC family and being a UFC athlete now, I get to use the Performance Institute. I get to have physical therapy. I have to get meals and nutritionists and all that. Like if I want personal trainers, I already have my own. But if I want, I have that. I have access to their gym, recovery center, red light therapy. There's like so much cool stuff just on the institute alone. Um, Plus, a career plan, and they are willing to invest on me, and they're very excited to have me on. And I think, because I want to fight MMA, there's no better place for me to be personally than with the UFC Fight Pass right now. And I think that if I do good this year on the grappling side, and I do respectively, same time just as good in MMA, yeah, we will be looking to UFC in a shorter time than I imagined. But I'm in a rush. I wanna be ready when that call does come around. I don't want to go there and like disappoint and not get another chance. I want to use that chance to the max. So no rush over here, one step at a time. But I think as far as what my experience looks like in jiu-jitsu, I'm able to deal with adversity and things that come my way, and over time things work itself out. So I'm on my way. It's gonna happen.
And is there any particular matches that you actually want in jiu-jitsu? Obviously, I know you're not going to be picky in
Yeah.
MMA, but is there anyone that you would like to face now in those next couple of matches?
Man, it's hard to say I want to face it because it's almost like, at this point, my division is such a tough division that is like every division, right? But like my division, and I want to say featherweight and maybe the heavyweight, they have like so many good guys. Like it's like 5 to 6 or maybe like about 10 you can pick. There's like, dude, these guys are so good. And anyone can take over at any point once they get on a streak. Um, Guys that I'm looking that I'm kinda, like, trying to be ready that I know is going to come my way, especially because right now I'm fighting in the biggest platform there is for fighting, So, they will try to bring the best, I know that. So, I know Mika is going through some contract issues and situations, so I'm preparing to have to fight him eventually. Um, Andrew Tackett would be a very fun match. I know that people did try to get this matchup going towards the end of the year, but I was already kind of talking to the UFC, so it became hard. We're both on different sides right now, and I think we both understand that like when that match it is to happen, we can make the most out of it, and we can market it and make good money as well. I appreciate what the boys do, like all these guys. Like I appreciate what all these guys that I just mentioned right now have been doing. So for me, I think, those guys like Andrew, Mika, the Rotolos, like all these dudes are like great matches that do fireworks. They're the best and right now. And yeah, I have to keep up with those guys if I want to still be relevant in jiu-jitsu. I feel like I had my peak for a good while, and then, like I said, like things happened. COVID came around, and I ended up winning worlds after that. After all, won worlds in the gi. Then I was like, I'm gonna fight MMA, but life keep bringing me back to jiu-jitsu to stick with at least no gi for now. I'll stick with no gi. There's still like I know I can still fight these guys and do well. I just need to be able to prove it. Like I need to get the chance and then fight them, and hopefully that will happen this year. Hopefully this year is still one of those matches will happen. And of course, there's a lot of other guys. If I was to like pick and start like expose, there's a lot of really good talent out there. But yeah, we'll see. Whoever they send my way, really. But those are some guys that I'm expecting to come at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people would love to see you against any of them because they're all, like you said, all exciting matches, all
Yeah.
fireworks. And when you've mentioned a few things as you've been talking, if you look sort of like even further to the future, what do you think your career in jiu-jitsu really looks like for you? Because you mentioned coaching, promoting, that sort of thing. What
Mhm.
have you got any sort of like bigger plans now in, 5, 10 years time kind of thing?
Yeah, honestly, I think within the next 7 years, I'm giving myself. I'm 28 right now. I'll be 29 this year already. So time is running fast. But I've been doing this since I'm 8, and I feel like I don't want to be doing this forever. I don't want to be those guys that are like 40s and freaking trying to keep up with the young guys, and I'm also not going to be on the doing the things that I'll have to do to be able to do that. I'm pretty good with where I stand at, which is like, trying to live a healthy lifestyle and stay healthy and as much as I can. I'm already pretty beaten up for someone that does everything naturally. So I don't think I'll be able to do more than like 35, 36. But who knows? I'm not saying that 35, 36 years old. There's a lot of guys out there that are able to do it. So if I'm able to do it and I'm doing good and I feel good, maybe I'll change my mind. I'll keep extending that. Yeah, my focus within the next 7 years at least is to try to grow in MMA and in jiu-jitsu for as long as I can keep up. I feel like, dude, keeping up with jiu-jitsu is gonna be harder than keeping up with MMA in a way. In MMA, there's so many aspects of the fight I can always like, adjust the match with like, I'll do this to this guy, I'll do this to that guy. But in jiu-jitsu, it's really, really, really tough to be able to stay on top for a very long time. There's guys that do it and guys that do it very well at it. Not saying that I won't. I want to do the best I can. But if MMA end up overtaking eventually, I'm okay going that way in the future, and then like maybe like still doing jiu-jitsu, but not as often. But again, that's like plans for, I don't know what's gonna happen. Right now jiu-jitsu is blooming and doing good. So jiu-jitsu is my primary focus. MMA is too secondary in a way. We'll see within, like I said, within the end of this year how things unfold. And then yeah, probably be competing for until I'm like 35, 36. And then after that, yeah, I would like to have my own event. I would like to start some social projects if possible back in my hometown. We also have plans to hopefully retiring and moving to Hawaii eventually and doing something over on Raquel side, which is the west side where like all the meanest fighters of Hawaii come from. And it's like also a community that of need of that, like for like a social project and things like that. I feel like the kids would benefit from it, and they're really like natural fighters too. So it sounds very exciting to work with people like that. Those are things like for the future that we're looking into, but right now is just trying to see what happens right now. So yeah, I still
Awesome.
have some more time.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what the next couple of years hold, to be honest with you. um, that's pretty much everything I think we've got time for now. But is there anything you want to say or anyone you want to give a shout out to or anything like that before I let you go?
I would like to give a shout out to UFC Fight Pass for everything that they're doing right now. Please connect to the UFC Fight Pass March 6th. Watch me. We just got moved up for a co-main event. You're probably gonna be getting that announcement soon. Maybe I should have said it. But yeah, we're gonna be co-main event. That should be fun. A lot of great matches, a lot of good talent, both on girls and guys side. I'm excited a lot for this event. I also shout out to all my sponsors and people who have been helping me. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time and take it easy. All right.
Thank you. You have a good one, man. Take
Cheers.
care.